Cougars ranked number 7. Their rival, the Huskies in town, off to a great start tonight. There's a great serve. Iman Isanovic. Impressive start for the Cougars. Bowler Gym jam-packed with Cougar fans. The energy is bursting here tonight. And that's a point to the Cougars. Oh, they're battling in Pullman. And flushed back that Cougar defense. And that's down. Point to Washington State. And there it is. And the Cougars take it 3-0. A sweep in game 1 of this Apple Cup series between Washington State and the Washington Huskies.
Well, we do welcome you to the land in Pullman, Washington. We had so much fun a couple of weeks ago. We are back here, and again, it is your Jen Greeny Coaches Show, and with me, of course, head coach of Washington State University Volleyball, Jen Greeny. Since we last were here 2 weeks ago, 4 more wins to make it now a 13-match winning streak. A 4-0 start to Pac-12 conference play and tied for the Pac-12 lead heading into this week. We are ranked 4th in the country, a program best national ranking. And oh yeah, a nice little win over the 6th-ranked Oregon Ducks on Sunday, our 3rd win over a top 10 team. Wow. Coach, congratulations. Got a few of your players here. Got another great crowd here at the land. What a season you guys are having. Congratulations. And just once again, welcome back for another edition of the Jen Greeny Coaches Show.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so fun to be back here at the land, and what a great couple weeks that we've had. You talked about that win last weekend at Oregon specifically, and what a gritty team we have, don't you think? That comeback win. So, big things. We got up early, serving of Julia Norval, and we knew that wasn't, the Oregon team that we were going to face. They came back, made a fight out of it. And then, we battled back and forth and kind of thought, oh boy, are we going 5 here? And I think Pia Timmer was just tired, and so she just decided to just end it on her own, which I think we all appreciate.
Absolutely. We will get into all 4 of the matches that the Cougars won since we were here a couple of weeks ago. Again, make it a 13-match winning streak. We will talk about what lies ahead. Oh, by the way, the next 2 weeks at home at Buller Gymnasium. So if you're here in the land, if you're here to watch us and you are watching us on Facebook Live or later on YouTube, make your plans. Friday night against California, Sunday against Stanford. The following week, Friday and Sunday, let's pack Buller Gymnasium to, one, give appreciation to these athletes that have done such a tremendous job, and give them the home crowd support that they deserve over the next 2 weeks as they continue to fight for a Pac-12 championship.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, we have, worked really hard to create such an atmosphere in Boulder. We have our great marketing team. We have that new TerraFlex floor, the bleachers, and most importantly, the crowd that shows up. And I know a lot of people are talking about Sunday, with Stanford, but we have to be there and fill Buller Gym every single match and just really create that home court advantage, because when it comes time also for the NCAA to make some decisions about who gets to host and things like that, we want to make that statement that Buller Gym is a great place to play. We have great crowds. We're going to fill it up. So, Friday night is just as important as Sunday.
I mean, we've got 9 opportunities left as far as the conference is concerned. And then, like you said, hopefully we get a couple more when we get into the postseason as well. But we, again, don't want to put cart in front of the horse here, but we are running out of opportunities for you guys to come out and check this team out. Now that we're in conference play, as you mentioned, every match so very important. Let's go back to the first match of the 4 matches that we played. You were taking on your rivals. You were taking on the Huskies. Oh, by the way, it was fun to show up at the gymnasium and people seeing Bowler Gymnasium sold out tonight, and they did show up for that first match against the Huskies on this 4-match winning streak as far as conference play is concerned.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I showed up to the gym after, I went home and changed, had to put my boots on, and, showed up and there were sold out signs on the door, and I was like, okay, here we go. And so, this team deserves this. This program deserves this. And like I said, it can't just be for those big matches. It's got to be for everything. And it makes such a difference, especially our students in the block, filling all those seats, making it really, really tough for those opponents to play.
We will talk about the boots because a lot of people have been talking about your boots. We'll get into that. If you have any questions here at the land, we do have a pad and a pen. If you want to ask the coach a question, you can come up, write one down. We'll get some. We've got a few already for her. But let's go back to that Husky match. You knock off your arch rivals to open up Pac-12 conference play. The way that the conference schedule has worked is you've opened up against your conference opponent, you end against your conference opponent. You were able to take a team that serves pretty well in the Huskies, but you were able to take care of them. I don't want to say it was ho-hum, but at the same time, in straight sets, it was a workmanlike fashion. We were able to get down and take care of the Huskies in that opening match.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, I think, we were coming off a couple big wins down in Texas, and I was happy that we were playing our rivals and the Huskies, and we knew it was going to be a big match, and I think that's what our team did, just focused on what needed to be accomplished, and it was very workmanlike, and, straight sets. It was great. Get in, get out, and focus on the next.
As you have seen your team evolve over these last 2 weeks, especially since we've gone into conference play, what have been some of the things that you think that you've been able to bring your level up to knock off not only the Huskies, but Arizona, Oregon State, and then Oregon last Sunday?
Yeah, for sure. We're not playing our best volleyball yet, and so that's really exciting as a coach. I think we are focusing on, getting our passing a little bit better. Of course, hitting. We have so many weapons that, just trying to get everybody kind of, really balanced as far as attacks go. Sometimes somebody's going to have a better night than others, and that's what's great about having so many different attackers that we have. But I think our serving is something that really, really picked up, and I'm sure we'll talk about that and the Oregon match. But, serving and passing for sure are two things that just are kind of slow to come along, but those are the two things I think that we've been focusing on the most.
The other thing that was kind of a little bit different, and we're going to run into more of what we have, I guess, grown accustomed to in the conference, that is Friday night and then on Sunday afternoon, is you had the matches where you're Wednesday, Friday down in Texas, and I'm sure it was partially designed that way because of the way we were opening up conference play. And then you went Thursday, had to make the trip to Tucson. Then you came back, very limited practice time before you went to Oregon to take on Oregon State and then the Oregon Ducks. But let's talk about that first road trip. You go down to Arizona, you fall down a set. You come back to even up the match at 1 set apiece. You then go down 2 sets to 1. You're able to even up the match at 2. And as you mentioned, being able to show that grit to come back and win it in 5. We certainly saw it in Texas within a set to come back and win and ultimately get that one in 4. We saw it in a little bit of a different fashion here because for the first time this season in the conference play and outside of Louisville, you were down 2 sets to 1 and backs against the wall against the conference opponent. One, I think a reminder that when you go on the road in your conference, you're in for a battle. And then 2, to see your team respond to come back and pick up a big win like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've got this big thing on our back. It's called the bullseye, I think, that we haven't had before. So we know that teams are going to give us their absolute best. And Arizona played a great match, and we just really couldn't get into a great rhythm. But, we found a way to win, not playing our best volleyball, and that's what good teams can do. So really proud of the way we responded and got it done in 5. We started playing pretty well in that 4th and the 5th, and I think probably just the team thought we hadn't had a lot of practice, so they just decided to go 5 and get a little extra work in.
Yeah, I mean, you in the final 2 sets against Arizona hit 378 after falling down 2 sets to 1, and again, you mentioned in a sport like volleyball, if you have one player not playing their best, the other player can kind of pick them up. You've had that balance all season long. You've got 2 great outside hitters. Katie Ryan's been really, really impressive for you as a right side hitter for you. It all starts with serving and passing, where we'll get into the serve and what you guys were able to do against the Ducks. And your passing, I think, has really picked up from the back row over the last few weeks. And then obviously you've got Magda, who, oh, by the way, here's another chance for you folks here in the land to applaud. Another Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week honors for Magda Yehalasheva. And well-deserved for what she was able to do against both Oregon State and Oregon. But, I mean, again, to have that balance on this team and also, oh, by the way, experience on this team, to know that you are down 2-1, but you can still win even though you're in a hostile environment, and it's that grit. Is that something? It's not something that's been lacking on your teams before, but it just seems like it's something that's just a little more tangible this season, yes?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for sure this team has had it. I just think we have a little more of it this year. It's that experience, of course. You know, last year, you know, we were kind of playing with only one middle, and those were tough, you know, rotations to try and figure out. And so I just think we have more experience, more players. Yeah, and we're all, you just can't get rid of that grit. You know, it's really coming out. So it's great to have, and you know, this team's really special.
You go on the trip to Oregon, you take care of Oregon State. Don't want to be dismissive of that because, as again, we mentioned any team can be tough, especially on the road, but they're a team that's going through rebuilding, and you guys were able to take care of business against Oregon State. And then you go in against Oregon. You mentioned Julia Norville and the way she started off that match, 10 consecutive points. What were you thinking over on the sideline? They call a timeout, I think it was 5-0. Then all of a sudden, they take another timeout. It was 8-0. What was going through your mind as it became 10-0 over the first 10 points?
This is fun. That's what went through
Were you
my
thinking
mind.
shutout, 25-0?
I was like,
that's a little asking for much, but
right? Yeah. Then, you know, they scored. I was like, oh, jeez, Julia. No, just kidding. Yeah, I mean, obviously that's great, but you know, that's not the team that you're playing, you know, and so just hopefully, you know, trying to get the team to not refocus, because I think we were focused the whole time, but just know that Oregon was going to respond, and of course that they did. But yeah, that was really impressive start, and we hadn't been starting well.
No.
You know, we had been losing those first sets, and we talked about that. Like, okay, we got to do something different here, and so yeah, Julia just took it into her own hands and said, okay, I'll start it off. But you know, that was a great way to kind of set the tone and you know, get going and get that first set under our belt.
you guys then ended up even at a set apiece after 2 sets, and then you ended up with a little bit of a mini marathon there in set number 3. They had 3 set point opportunities. You guys were able to stave all 3 of them off. You guys had a set point opportunity, and then you guys were able to end up taking the point. I mean, when you look at the stats, again, everybody contributed. You ended up with not only your outside hitters getting into double digits, Magda with what she was able to do, and again, Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week. Obviously, the receiving, we're going to get into that in just a little bit, the serving. But even, I mean, Logan Golden came in and had a huge ace for you in that match. Yeah. Lana Radakovic had a big serve during that match, and during that set where you won 29-27. I'm not saying that you don't win if you don't win that third set, but obviously you need 3 of them, and that was a huge one to get to go up 2-1.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You know, if when it's tied 1-1, you want to take that third set. You know, you don't want to be down with your backs against the wall. Not saying that I don't think we can win, but it just makes it a lot easier on yourselves. And, you know, the way we battled, and, you know, and I don't think there's anybody back on the service line that, you know, we're not trusting, and no. There's no bad rotations right now or whatever that is, that anybody can go back there and we're fully trusting that we're in a good rotation and we can side out.
And then last thing, as far as the flow of the match, you mentioned it. We're down 23-19 in the 4th set. Looks like to everybody watching, we're going 5. You score 6 consecutive. So you score the first 10 points of the match. You score the last 6 points of the match. That's 16 in a row. I mean, albeit a bunch of points in between. But to finish it off and get it done in 4 that way, and for Pia, that was a pretty gnarly serve on match point to end up finishing that thing off.
It sure was. You know, and I think that's what this team is about. Like, it's never, I heard so many people that either, like, what they were watching kind of glitched out, and they kind of thought, oh, I'll just, you know, come back in the 5th set, or, you know, somebody went to make a phone call and came back and we had already won. Like, first of all, why are you going to go make a phone call, right, you know, during the match? But
we put it on mute.
Yeah. But just that this team is never out of it. And so, you know, that's what's really fun.
Let's talk about Julia Norville. She set a career high in that match with 18 digs, and what she was able to do from the back row. Carly Basham, obviously your libero and what she's able to do in that back row. Arhe with what she was able to do not only defensively but becoming a really good blocker these last few matches for you, and obviously what she's able to do from the setter's position. Again, just the balance across the board, and talk about maybe a few of those players here.
Yeah, for sure. I think we call them the little people, Julia and our defensive specialists, that they don't a lot of times get, those big accolades or the big numbers or people, seeing these giant plays of block or whatever that is. But, they really make the team go. The little engines that could, and then Argentina just doing some great stuff at the net, both offensively, defensively, serving, defense. I was talking actually to a reporter today about her, and that, she kind of just flies under the radar because we have so many great hitters. And there's a couple of, other good setters in our conference as well, but I think she's, underrated, and she doesn't get enough attention.
Again, Washington State went over Oregon on Sunday. Again, a 13-match winning streak. They're 14-1 on the season, ranked 4th in the country, 4-match winning streak coming up. We've got so much to get to here at the Land. Again, if you've got questions, come up. We're going to go ahead and take our first break. Go ahead and make some noise for this Cougar volleyball team, ranked 4th in the country, 13-match winning streak, and we'll talk more with head coach Jen Greeny. It is the Jen Greeny Coaches Show from the Land in Pullman, and we're back after this on Facebook Live. Well, we welcome you back once again to the Land in Pullman, Washington. It is your Jen Greeny Coaches Show. With me, of course, the head coach of Washington State University Volleyball, Jen Greeny. Are you ready for a couple of questions, Coach?
I'm ready.
All right. During the break on Facebook Live, for those that were viewing, they were showing a couple of things. One, they were showing the 9 games left on our schedule. Circle all of them. And I mentioned this in the post-game show. I understand life happens. People sometimes can't make it. But here's a challenge to everybody out there. Be to every one of those 9 matches, and if you can't, call somebody. Have somebody take your spot. Call a friend, call a relative, call somebody, and have somebody make your spot and have them be at Buller Gymnasium.
Yes.
You guys also, they showed a picture of you guys after the win at Oregon. You guys have been taking pictures at all these different venues that you've been picking up wins. Where has that come from, and where did that originate from, and the meaning for you taking those pictures?
Yeah, well, if you follow international volleyball at all, it's really an international thing that after you win, most international teams take a group photo in it. It's the whole staff, it's the team, everybody together after a big win. And they're all doing something different, the flex, the whatever, the W. And so, since half our team is international, we decided to start taking pictures. And it has really nothing to do with where we're at or whatever. It's the victory and that we're all together. And so if you're following us on social media, you've seen a lot of pictures. And it's pretty exciting to have to look back at all those victories, and you see everybody, and you'll see the girls kind of doing something different every time. And, when we were at Oregon State, we took a picture with them, kind of our sisterhood. We took both. We took us and them together. But so it's been kind of fun, and, great to look back and see all those victories. And, it's just something special.
That's another thing this season. Again, we don't know for sure what's going to happen in the future. We don't know exactly what's going to go on with conference realignment, but we know that a lot of these schools are planning for different futures and moving on to different conferences. That's another reason to be in Bowler. We were playing the Huskies for, I don't know when we're going to play them again at Bowler Gymnasium.
Yeah.
We sent them out with a loss, by the way.
Yes. I'm like, we can send all these nice teams out just, with a special parting gift.
Let's single one of these teams coming in. We don't know when we're going to see them, but let's just say the goodbye we want to say to them, and that is good. I don't know, maybe I'm getting a little too far here, but just so long, and we will talk to you at a later date.
Yeah, I've got an AC/DC song for all that plays during warm-ups. So.
Okay. Here's a question. Why do the girls wear the leggings, the long pants when playing on the road, and they don't when they're at home?
Yeah, I'm just going to call them spoiled now. They play on this nice TerraFlex floor at Bowler Gym, and it's soft, and it's, much nicer when you fall on the ground and you dive. And then when we play on hardwood, it just does, your skin kind of sticks to that hardwood. So, a few of them have been choosing to wear the long tights when we're on the road and not playing on TerraFlex. But, to each their own, and maybe it's a fashion statement. But good question. Good question
there. Here's another question that I had posed to me. When did you know that you wanted to get into coaching?
Oh, very young age. My dad was a coach for, he's still a coach. I feel like he's coaching from the stands half the time. He doesn't even know volleyball. I'm sure he's listening. Hi, Dad. From a very young age. I have two older brothers. And so, we were always in the gym. It was always, talking about this play, that play, or whatever. Both my brothers coached, once they graduated from college. And so as soon as I got to Washington State, I was an elementary ed major. That's what I was going to do. I was going to teach and coach, just like everybody else in my family besides my mom. And so I guess that's what I'm still doing. I do feel like I'm teaching elementary ed sometimes with this team. So all that training, has, it serves me well.
Serves you well, absolutely. We mentioned Cal and Stanford coming into town as they're the first two out of this 2-week 4-match homestand at Bowler Gymnasium. You mentioned we want the folks to show up not only for the matchup against Stanford, and we'll get into the Cardinal in just a little bit, but Cal, a team that is a little different than what we've seen from them the last couple of years. They got a really good freshman. They played a really good non-conference as far as win-loss record is concerned, and they seem to be making some strides. What have you seen out of California as we get ready for this matchup on Friday?
Yeah, you're exactly right. You go into preseason and you're kind of keeping track of, all the Pac-12 and who's winning and not winning, and you're like, oh, Cal, okay, Cal, and so they've made some great improvements. They have a new coach, some great young players. And, when you have a team like that who's kind of inexperienced and hasn't gone through all those losses and have won, they can be a little bit dangerous, coming in. And you get kind of that, don't lose kind of attitude and whatever that might be. So we definitely are really focusing on one match at a time. That's what we were doing in Oregon too. Who do we play first? Of course, Oregon State. Got to take care of that. And so that's really what our focus is this week. Right now, it's on Cal.
As you are now in the midst of this 2 weeks at home, how nice is this for your part in the schedule, considering You went to Texas. You came back home. You did have the Thursday, but again, you got classes. You got all this, and it was an early start to the weekend. And then you had to go to Tucson. Yeah, you had a couple days, but you had to play in Tucson. Had to make your way back. What'd you have? Did you have one practice before you went to Corvallis, or kind of a half a practice before you went to Corvallis?
I mean, we went through a gnarly stretch of travel, and we went, pretty much from the southern border, like from the Canadian border to the Mexican border, back to the Canadian border. One day turn around, go to Oregon. And it's not luxurious travel all the time if you weren't aware. Luckily we're flying out of Pullman, but we spend a lot of time in the Seattle airport and doing homework in the airport on the airplane. So we really haven't been home. So this will be a great 2-week kind of stretch where we can get a little more training done, practice, get that routine rhythm. I don't even know if we've been to a Friday class, in a long time. So sorry, professors out there. We'll be in class Friday.
Okay.
So really just to have that 2-week home stretch at this time of year after, being on the road quite a bit will be really nice.
All right, and then another question for you. Do you have any superstitions as a head coach?
Oh, man. No. No. Not really superstitions.
Okay.
Yeah, not so much. I mean, I carry my mints and my lip gloss in my pockets. You've seen that.
Rituals,
but no real superstitions.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then your boot collection, when did it begin? How big is it? And how do you decide which boots to wear on any given night?
I am from Davenport, Washington. That's what people are, go by county, go Lincoln County. I love country music. It started out with when I first got the job here, somebody showed me the pair of brown boots that had the cougar head on them, and I was like, okay, these are pretty sweet. Well, I wore those and we beat Washington. So I thought, okay, a little magical power or something. So I bought another pair, and then that pair I wore and we beat Stanford. So I was like, okay, something to the boots. So I think it's just kind of fun. It's something that has evolved over time. And when I went to Texas, I came back with 2 new pair. I think we talked about that. So now it's a little bit dangerous. And it is country night on Friday. And apparently I have heard that they're going to be voting on what boots I'm supposed to wear on Friday.
Right here at the Land is what you're saying.
Not at the Land. I think it's going to be a social media
Friday
post.
at the Washington State University's country night.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, so...
Okay.
So stay tuned.
Okay.
I hope you vote.
Well,
to see what you vote for.
I'll take a look at the options. I'm not a boot fashion type of person, but I'll go with my heart and see which one speaks to me.
Okay, good.
Does that sound okay?
Sounds great.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we return, we're going to go a little past 6:30 here, but we will talk about the upcoming matchup with Stanford. A few other things to help us wrap up the show. So happy to have you with us from Land. The 4th-ranked Washington State University Cougars home for the next 4 matches. And we're back after this with the Jen Greeny Coaches Show on Facebook Live. Well, we welcome you back to the land as it is your Cougar Coaches Show with head coach of Washington State University Volleyball, Jen Greeny. Again, the Cougars on a 13-match winning streak, 14-1, tied atop the Pac-12 Conference at 4-0. And obviously, Coach, I know your attention is on California on Friday. After that, you do get the Stanford Cardinal on Sunday, and obviously a lot of eyes are going to be on that match. Potentially a spot for the Pac-12 lead will be on the line, or at least a share of the lead. Number 3 versus number 4. Just your thoughts on Stanford and what they've been able to accomplish, and the fact that it's number 3 versus number 4 in Bowler coming up on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I mean, Stanford, of course, picked to win the conference. They've got tons of people coming back. They're such a good team. They've played a great preseason schedule as well. Always tough. Always tough. So, we'll have to play well, of course. They did have an injury to a player this week, so we don't know if she'll be back or not. Mm-hmm. But, it doesn't matter who's coming in. They're going to give us their best shot, and, we got to take one match at a time.
Couple of last quick questions. We did have one during the break. You put together such a tremendous group here for 2023 with all these upperclassmen. They just wanted you to kind of maybe broad scope at your recruiting thoughts, and when you go out and recruit players and then grade them and bring them into the program and turn them into not only the great athletes that they've become, but also hopefully the great young women that they will become.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, we have such a great mix of those foreign players, and it's not like we really started out saying we're going to recruit these foreign players. We didn't have many beforehand, mm-hmm. and once we started to get better and better, we still couldn't get kind of these U.S. players that we needed at the talent level to come, and so Burdette just kept going east and east and east, and then right. Went to Europe, and it worked out really well. And I think now just the success that our players now have had, recruits are really seeing that, and they see that Pullman is a special community. We take care of them. It's safe. If I was a parent and I was sending my daughter halfway around the world, I would want to make sure that she was getting very well taken care of. And I think that we have shown, not only us as a volleyball program, but our university, our community really embraces them as young women, and we take care of them and make sure that they are successful.
Mention ranked 4th in the country. That's the highest in program history. Again, for good reason, everybody's excited about that. You can't not pay attention to it. I know it's important, but it's not important because that doesn't help you. You don't get an extra 6 points on Friday night. You don't start with a 6-0 lead over California. You become the hunted. But at the same time, to see these young ladies get the recognition that they deserve, where's that fine line for you as a coaching staff when you see these accolades that come in?
Yeah, I'm a voter, and I voted us 5. You can't get too high up there. We talk about, these awards, and it's a team thing. It's the program. It's every single person, having a part in this, and that it's great, but we're not done yet. It doesn't do us, like you said, it doesn't do us any good right now. It's great to be ranked number 4, but we don't get extra points. We don't get an automatic berth into anything. We've got a long ways to go, and we're really just talking about playing one weekend at a time. In the NCAA, Burdette just talked about this at practice today. In the NCAA tournament, you got to win 2 to advance. And so that's what we're gonna do every weekend. You got to win 2 to advance to the next weekend, and to win 2, you got to win the first one. Mm-hmm. So just really focusing on the process, and we did a lot of that today. We did lots of kind of individual skill work today, and I think that's what it is, getting after in practice and trying to get better.
Any other final thoughts before we say so long, other than once again, thank you so much to everybody that showed up here at the land for our second edition. Again, it's our Jen Greeny Coaches Show. Packed Bowler Gymnasium on Friday and Sunday. Again, 13 in a row as far as the winning streak is concerned. Any Any final thoughts before we wrap things up here?
No, I'm really appreciative to you and Jared and the Land. I mean, what a great Taco Tuesday night it is at the Land. Love this place. And for all of these great fans that have come out, I see even lots of different faces that were here tonight that weren't here the last time. So hopefully we can get this Coaches Show to continue. And the support is just phenomenal. I know these players feel it. They feel the love. So let's just keep it going.
All right, Friday night, 7 o'clock, California coming to town. Then Sunday, Stanford, the 4th-ranked Washington State University Cougars taking on Cal and Stanford. 13 in a row. They're 14-1, Coach. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
All
Go
right,
Cougs.
that's going to do it for us. Go Cougs. We say goodbye on the Jen Greeny Coaches Show from the Land on Facebook Live.